As the clock ticks by, a commotion erupts outside the library pavilion. Sube, ever observant, peers through a narrow window and sees a heated confrontation unfolding. At the center of it all is a white-haired man, his face exuding a villainous calm. He is no stranger, bearing a resemblance to a known figure, though with a far more sinister air. With an air of superiority, he taunts the opposing group, admitting that their actions have disrupted plans, but reminding them that their most valuable hostage is still in their grasp. His words fall on the ears of their captive audience, who, instead of rebelling, seem to accept his stance with an unsettling devotion. One voice boldly declares their victory, claiming that their numerous resources ensure their triumph, urging the others to surrender and join their side in this twisted world. The uncle nods, clearly pleased, before issuing a chilling threat. If they refuse to give up the key individual, their own hands will bear the blame for any catastrophic events that follow. A sense of dread fills the air as the weight of their position becomes painfully clear. If things go awry, the powers that be would surely turn on them, pinning the blame squarely on their shoulders. It was a moment of uncertainty, the kind where reason alone should have given them clarity. But then again, when has life ever been about reason? They had faced a similar dilemma before, like when they confronted the parents of a lost soul. Everyone knew the true culprit, but the ability to act was lacking, and so the blame fell onto someone else. Now, things were no different. They couldn't face the powerful forces behind the scenes, but the students in front of them, that was something they could control. Could anyone really guarantee that everyone would remain rational? And considering what the mysterious figure had said, the truth might never see the light of day. Who knew if those shadowy forces could manipulate reality itself? Yet, there was another way. If they surrendered, they wouldn't carry the blame, especially since Subi was already seeking outside help. Sure, Subi might not excel at every small task, but he had a track record of handling bigger ones. With reinforcements on the way, it would soon be out of their hands. In fact, the guest's words had some merit. Armed with plenty of defenses, they might not even win. The moment was tense, everyone caught in indecision, everyone except Jiang Tianming. He was resolute, his words cutting through the hesitation like a blade. Don't fool yourselves. If you claim you won't harm us, you only mean physical harm, right? We'd end up like those behind you, bound and voiceless. Besides, if you could really defeat us, why haven't you acted yet? The tension is palpable as the last words spoken by one of the characters serve as a shocking revelation, leaving everyone in stunned silence. It's clear now they could have used their tools to capture the others long ago, so why were they still wasting time? These individuals weren't particularly powerful, but their high status and abundance of tools made them dangerous. Handling a few ability users should have been easy, so what's going on? As one of the characters, Si Xiaohua, questions the situation, the uncle's smug expression fades into one of surprise as the others start to see through his act. Though he thought his threats were effective, he missed the hidden ropes slithering beneath their feet, unnoticed in the chaos of the moment. In the distance, flames begin to rise, surrounding them in a menacing dance. While others remain unaware, Woojin catches a crucial detail: the earpieces the group is wearing. This small revelation confirms that someone is controlling the situation from behind the scenes. The mastermind? Feng Lan. And as Su Bi, with a clearer perspective, turns to Wu Jin, he asks the question that echoes through the tension: did he not give you an earpiece? The stage is set, but who's really pulling the strings? Su Bi paused, eyes narrowing as a revelation struck him. The ropes and flames weren't just about trapping everyone, they were part of a larger plan, one that even Wu Jin hadn't fully grasped yet. While Feng Lan's decision not to give Wu Jin an earpiece suggested no direct communication, it didn't rule out the possibility of a task set for him. Feng Lan, with his foresight abilities, had calculated every move. Su Bi, understanding the strategy now, couldn't help but admire the precision of the plan. The ropes weren't just to trap them physically. They were a signal, an unspoken cue for something much greater. Wu Jin, puzzled, turned to Su Bi. You figured it out? He asked, surprised. Su Bi nodded calmly. No rush, just a little longer, he replied, the countdown to their next move already beginning. 10 minutes later, the air pulsed with the activation of the teleportation array, and a group of new arrivals appeared in the library. Teachers, the principal, and others Su Bi hadn't expected. The game was about to shift. Su Bi stood calm as a new group entered, figures of authority, faces tense. Woody strode forward, gaze sharp, first checking on his son, then turning to Subi. You're Subi, right? What's the situation? He glanced through the glass hostages. Many. Important ones. His brows knit. Behind him, panic rippled. Principal Wu. What now? Someone asked, voice shaking. Our ability users may not be enough. They'll be prepared. Wu Di looked at Subi, firm. Got a plan? If not, I'll act. At that, Wu Jin tugged Subei's sleeve, subtle but urgent, don't let him go. Once Wu Dai moved, it wouldn't end clean. Subi nodded slowly, voice steady. We have a plan. Just head down. Don't fight, just appear. Doubt flickered, but they obeyed. It was simple, and Subi, he didn't speak without reason. After their departure, Subi used his mental power to track the movements near the library entrance. As they approached, he suddenly yelled, Our reinforcements are here! Don't run! Surrender now! His words, however, only triggered the opposite reaction. Since he was from the opposing side, the group instinctively did the opposite, and when Subi warned them not to run, they immediately started fleeing. Unlike the drunken guests, the uncle remained sharp and knew the importance of staying calm. He realized their best chance of survival was staying united, so he urgently shouted, Don't run! Together we can... But before he could finish, his daughter, Feng Ling, swiftly intervened. She tackled him and covered his mouth to stop him from speaking. With no more interference, the guests scattered, but they were quickly caught by immobilizing ropes set along their escape path. With everyone subdued, the uncle had no choice but to surrender. Furious, he confronted Feng Ling. Why betray me? We are father and daughter. I did all this for you. You were meant to lead, but why did Feng Lan take the role instead? Subi's day in the library took an unexpected turn as he delved into a book on superpowers. What seemed like a simple topic quickly revealed deeper mysteries. Initially, people believed superpowers came from mental energy, but new research shattered that theory. Some with immense mental energy had no powers, while others awakened abilities without it. Skimming through the book, Subi uncovered these forgotten truths and wondered what truly caused powers to emerge. His curiosity, fueled by his prior experiences with nightmare beasts, now had a new direction, pushing him to explore beyond the surface of established knowledge. She wiped her tears with force and took a steadying breath. The wine probably alters personalities. Normally, my father wouldn't act this way. Subi truly believed her. The calm demeanor of Feng Ling suggested she had been raised in a loving environment. Wu Di sighed softly, ruffling her hair. Don't worry. We're working on an antidote. We'll have it ready soon. Feng Ling nodded enthusiastically, accepting a tissue from someone nearby to quietly dry her eyes. Just then, Feng Lan, who had been absent until now, walked over. Still in his suit from earlier, he appeared unruffled, having orchestrated events from behind the scenes rather than facing the chaos directly. With a polite bow, he addressed everyone. On behalf of my family, I thank you for your help. Please, follow me to the hall where you can rest. You'll also witness the aftermath of the incident. As he finished speaking, a group of elderly men appeared. They were clearly associated with the Feng family, if not part of its direct lineage. Among them, Subi spotted Si Zhouhua's father, understanding now why he had kept himself hidden earlier. Seeing his father safe, Si Zhouhua couldn't hide his excitement, though he only exchanged a reassuring glance and remained with the group. As the group appeared, the uncle's face darkened, a mix of terror and reluctant understanding sweeping over him as he glared venomously at Feng Lan. I knew you were behind this. You moved them early to protect yourself from me. The leader of the group, stepping forward, scoffed. Protecting against you was necessary. Your actions have shamed the family, collaborating with traitors. If not for the prophecy from the head of the family predicting your betrayal, you might have led us to ruin. He seized the moment to emphasize the significance of the prophecy ability, subtly reinforcing trust in the family despite the chaos. Meanwhile, Subi wasn't bothered by the uncle's accusations. He gave a discreet signal to Feng Lan and quietly slipped away. Soon after, Wu Jin caught up with him. Surprised, Subi asked, Aren't you staying with the principal? Wu Jin shook his head. Dad is dealing with official matters. I'd just be in the way. I'm heading to the library instead. Haven't finished a book there yet, so I'll use this chance to read. Subi indeed planned to visit the library, not just for work, but because his curiosity was always drawn to the mysteries that lay within the pages. The library was full of hidden treasures, and he couldn't resist the chance to uncover them. To the world, He sought to unravel the origins of the terrifying nightmare beasts. But for himself, his curiosity was drawn to the enigma of superpowers. Unlike the former, the latter was less guarded and much more accessible. Woojin had already found a few books on the subject, and Subi was ready to follow his lead. Just as they prepared to dive deeper into their research, a familiar voice called out, "Hey, Sube, Woojin!" Turning around, they saw the remaining S-Class members, minus Feng Lan and Si Xiaohua's group, coming their way. Mo Xiaotian was at the front, grinning smugly. "I wasn't going to stick around for their meeting. When I saw you two sneaking out, I had to join in." Wu Mingbai followed with a playful smile. "Why didn't you invite us? Don't tell me you were planning to ditch us?" His teasing was enough to get the others chuckling as they waited for an explanation. Subi remained cool, unfazed by the attention, while Wu Jin, always more reserved, offered a quiet response. "We just wanted to read. Thought you might not be interested? We like reading too." Jiang Tianming added with a friendly smile, easing Wu Jin's unease. "So, the library, right?" Jiang Tianming had once heard Feng Lan mention something, but it hadn't caught his attention at the time. Now, however, it seemed far more intriguing. As he finished speaking, his gaze shifted towards Subi, who had clearly spent the entire day in the library. Without flinching, Subi responded calmly, hinting that knowledge was indeed a treasure, even in the midst of distractions. With a subtle gesture, he urged Wu Jin to pay closer attention next time. In the quiet library, everyone was now free to dive into books that interested them after a long stretch of dealing with family affairs. Subi's curiosity led him to a book about superpowers, a common subject in both schools and bookstores dealing with abilities. The mysteries of these powers and their origins had long fascinated him. He selected a worn book titled Exploration of Superpowers, intrigued by what it might reveal. Subi skimmed through the table of contents, selecting chapters that piqued his interest, rather than reading in detail. It started with the belief that only those with mental energy could awaken superpowers. However, further research revealed a surprising twist. Ordinary people also had mental energy, and some could even surpass the ability levels of those who had awakened powers without ever manifesting any abilities. This new information was something Subi EI had not previously known, adding yet another layer to the mysteries of the superpower world. It was late, and they were staying at school for the night. Lei Zian jokingly suggested they could stick around until the semester started, but everyone quickly shut that idea down. The cafeteria was empty, and with takeout not an option, hunger set in. Everyone, except for Subi, was starving since they missed dinner. Subi, however, didn't mind the late-night munchies, so Ai Baozhu had a table full of food delivered. No one was worried it was her family's private chef after all. As they dug in, conversation flowed freely, no rules against talking during meals. Does anyone else think that even though Black Flash was behind all this, they hardly showed up? Mu Tiran wondered aloud. Normally, members of Black Flash were all over the place, but today they were practically non-existent. Feng Lan wasn't around, so Si Xiaohua stepped in to explain. Even if they turned Feng Lan's uncle's family against him, few could get into the Feng family. Feng Lan himself probably has barely enough talismans to access the mountain. Plus, with all the protocols in place, it's tough for bad guys to slip through. Mu Tiran nodded. So they must be working from the inside. Mo Xiaoxian, stuffing his face with grilled meat, managed to ask between bites. What's going to happen to Feng Lan's family? Will there be a bounty on Black Flash? Si Xiaohua gave a knowing nod. Definitely. They embarrassed the Feng family, but a bounty won't do much. Late at night, the group decided to stay at school. Lei Zian jokingly suggested they could stay until the semester began, but the idea was quickly shut down. The cafeteria was empty, and with no takeout options, everyone was starving, except for Subi. She didn't mind a late-night snack, so Ai Baozhu had a variety of dishes delivered, all prepared by her family's private chef. Without worry, they dug in and chatted freely, as there was no rule against talking during meals. Anyone else feel like Black Flash orchestrated this but barely showed up? Mu Tiran asked, puzzled. In past incidents, members of Black Flash were usually visible, but this time they were nowhere to be seen. Si Xiaohua, who was in a similar situation, explained, even with Feng Lan's uncle's family involved, few could enter the Feng family. Even the family head, Feng Lan, probably only has a few talismans that grant access to the mountain. Besides, This isn't the first public event. There are strict protocols, making it hard for anyone with ill intentions to sneak in. Mutirin nodded, understanding. So they could only undermine from within. Mo Xiaoqian, with his mouth full of grilled meat, swallowed hard before asking, "What happens to Feng Lan's family now? A bounty on Black Flash?" Definitely, Xiaohua confirmed. They made the Feng family lose face, but a bounty would likely be useless. In the last days of the break, Su Bei longed for nothing more than to relax at home. However, as someone closely tied to the protagonist group, he couldn't escape the sense of bad luck that seemed to follow them. Every adventure into a different space meant encountering criminals or dangerous creatures, and he was sure that if their break lasted 2 months, their troubles would only double. His companions, Wu Mingbai and Lan Subing, shared his sentiment, both agreeing that staying home sounded like a great idea. As they joked around, Zhao Xiaoyu, ever the responsible one, brought up a serious topic. "By the way, have you finished your winter break homework?" Most of the group nodded in unison, as the Academy's homework was practical, focusing less on written work and more on real skills. But not everyone was so quick to wrap up their assignments. Mo Xiaoshan, in disbelief, asked, "What? You're already done?" It seemed he still held on to the belief that procrastination was the norm. I Baozhu, unimpressed, shot him a look, adding, "Only you would think that." Subi, feeling trapped in the chaos of the protagonist group, couldn't help but sigh at their misfortune. Every time they went to a different space, it meant a run-in with dangerous criminals or terrifying nightmare beasts. And the break was just a month long. Imagine the disaster a 2-month vacation would bring. Wu Mingbai and Lan Subing, always at his side, were equally fed up, nodding in agreement. Lan Subing, with a tired sigh, whispered, "I'm staying home for the next few days. Don't even think about dragging me to any activities." The group burst into laughter. Then, as if out of nowhere, Zhao Xiaoyu casually asked, "So, did everyone finish their winter homework?" Everyone gave a simultaneous nod. At an academy for the gifted, homework was more about practical work than boring old essays. The most annoying part? Manhwa's endless reflections. With light assignments, no one procrastinated. Everyone was eager to get it out of the way, except for one person. Mo Xiaotian, eyes wide, exclaimed, "What? You all finished already? Don't people usually cram on the last day?" I Baozu shot him a look, saying, "Only you would do that." Mo Xiaotian was in full-on panic mode. He'd left his homework untouched and was staring at the ticking clock with horror. A few days to go, and his assignments were still an untouched battlefield. Meanwhile, his friends Wu Mingbai, Zhao Xiaoyu, and Subi had wrapped theirs up already, despite doing their usual last-minute rush. New school, new image, right? They were playing it cool, pretending to be model students, while Mo Xiaotian was sinking deeper into despair. "What do I do?" he fretted, pacing. His schoolwork was barely half finished. Okay, scratch that completely untouched. The easy stuff, like practical tasks, he'd breeze through. But those written assignments? Pure agony. Wu Mingbai, not one to miss an opportunity for some gloating, couldn't resist. "You're doomed. The teachers are going to flip if you don't finish this tiny bit of homework." He was right. The teachers had been on high alert about homework being the bare minimum this time around. Failing would definitely stir trouble. Mo Xiaoqian was practically melting under the pressure. But wait, an idea sparked! With his hands clasped and those wide, pleading puppy eyes, he begged, "Can I see your answers, please?" Mutirin, playing the role of the good class monitor, shook his head. "No way. Copying's not cool, Xiaoxian. If you have questions, just ask me. I can explain it all." Mo Xiaoxian, not missing a beat, flashed a grin. "Thanks a ton, class monitor." Mo Xiaotian's anxiety grew as he stared at his untouched homework, with only a few days left before the deadline. His classmates, like Wu Mingbai, Zhao Xiaoyu, and Subi, tried to hide their guilt, knowing they had completed their assignments at the last minute. But at least they had finished. Wu Mingbai couldn't resist gloating, reminding Mo Xiaotian that the teachers had warned them about the importance of finishing their homework before the finals. With time ticking away, Mo Xiaotian, desperate, turned to his classmates for help. He pleaded for the chance to see their answers, but Mu Tiran, ever the diligent class monitor, refused to let him copy and instead offered to help by explaining the work. Mo Xiaotian, his face lighting up with relief, eagerly accepted the offer. grateful for his friend's support. The topic came up, and of course, they couldn't resist teasing. They had hit a sore spot. Subi, with a forced smile, defended himself. What's wrong with my reflection? To spare the teachers, I left out the dangerous parts. Isn't that a good thing? His excuse was so shameless that it left the trio stunned. He had written his piece early, but when the picture didn't match the product, he had found a reasonable excuse that left them all speechless. The next morning, school was over. With only a few days left until the semester ended, heading home seemed like the better choice. As they discussed their plans, Subii heard that some of them were staying at nearby villas. Envious, he thought about buying a place there. But villas were out of his reach. With his savings, a single room was more realistic. It wasn't that he didn't make money last semester's. Earnings from a side hustle could have bought him a suburban villa. But this was a school district near one of the 3 best academies, and the prices were through the roof, worth more than their weight in gold. Joe Renji, noticing Subi's interest, raised an eyebrow. You want to buy here? He asked, his eyes bulging with surprise. But the villas are all taken, no space left. Just a single room for myself, Subi said, almost laughing. Did Joe think he could afford a villa? That was way too flattering. The moment the topic arose, they couldn't resist teasing. They struck a nerve, and Subi forced a smile, saying, What's wrong with my reflection? To ease the teacher's worries, I left out the dangerous parts. Isn't that good? His excuse left the trio stunned, marveling at his audacity. He had written early, but when the picture didn't match the product, he quickly found a reasonable excuse. The next morning, with only a few days before the semester ended, everyone decided it was best to head home. Hearing that some friends planned to stay at their nearby villas, Subi felt a pang of envy, even considering buying a place here. A villa, though, was out of reach. With his savings, a single room seemed more realistic. Not that he earned little his earnings from the previous semesters. Different space could easily buy a suburban villa. But this was a school district near one of only 3 ability academies, and the prices were sky high. You want to buy here? Joe Renji asked, his eyes wide, then frowning. But the villa area's full, no space left. Just a single room for myself, Subi chuckled. He wasn't delusional enough to think he could afford a villa. Subi was lying in bed, reflecting on the upcoming semester and feeling the familiar tinge of a headache. But as he thought more, he realized it wasn't so bad after all. A semester was only 3 months, with half of that dedicated to studying. The daily grind was busy but manageable. Looking back at the month-long break, though, he couldn't help but feel exhausted, so much so that the idea of returning to school seemed almost ironic. After recharging a bit, Subi caught up on a manga to ease his mind. The story picked up with some daily life moments, showing Jiang Tianming's group having a run-in with the red-haired boy before diving into the main plot. Lan Subing discussed the upcoming visit to the Feng family, and the group decided to go separately. Lan Subing needed a gown, and they didn't want the hassle of matching outfits. So, they biked to the Feng family's mountain base. A long ride, but not impossible for ability users. Halfway there, Jiang Tianming asked why they didn't just take a cab, and Subii couldn't help but laugh at the irony after all. They had money now, yet still lived like they were broke. Upon reaching the Feng family, they encountered a man in a suit who mocked them, but Feng Lan showed up and delivered a classic slap-in-the-face moment, which Subi skipped ahead from. Instead, he jumped straight to their entry into the Feng family, where other characters began to make their appearances. Usually in their usual uniforms or laid-back outfits, formal wear was a rare sight. But today, seeing them all suited up, the internet couldn't handle it. "Si Xiao, you're too handsome," one comment screamed. "Slick back Feng Lan? First time seeing this. I can already picture him as an adult." Another fangirled. "I Baoju's dazzling. Big miss on the scene, everyone. Clear the way." Someone else shouted. "Formal ice. Haven't seen her since last season." And of course, the big question, why isn't Subi in formal wear? "I want to see." As the crowd swelled, conversations started buzzing. And then, of course, Li Shu had to stir the pot, only for Ai Baozu to shut it down with style. Amid the chatter, everyone was gathering for the big moment. Subi, scanning the page, spotted the author's cheeky panel showing him thinking, "Dressed like that? You're gonna struggle with today's action. The comic's half smirk and those dark purple eyes?" Clearly, Subi already knew something was about to go down because when big events happened, they always went sideways. Thanks to his abilities and the manga, he saw the chaos coming from miles away. The atmosphere was electric as Si Xiaohua and the others appeared in formal attire, a rare sight for most. The crowd went wild, showering compliments on everyone, especially the likes of Ai Baozhu, who stood out stunningly. As the scene buzzed with excitement, Li Shu attempted to stir up trouble, only to be skillfully shut down by Ai Baozhu. But among the chatter, it was clear that the stage was set for something big to unfold. Su, be looking sharp, couldn't help but notice the foreshadowing in the manga, where his own expression held a knowing half-smile. With his sharp intuition and insight into the story's twists, he already knew the open day would not go as planned. After all, major events were never straightforward. And with his unique ability, Su Bei could see everything coming, as though observing the narrative from the vantage point of a higher power. Su Bei always thought there was more to Feng Ling's relationship with Zhao Xiaoyu than met the eye, and her suspicions were spot on. The connection wasn't about villainy, it was about saving them. Yet, she was portrayed so ominously that no one would suspect her true intentions. Meanwhile, Jiang Tianming's gaze locked onto Su Bei in a restaurant, but it wasn't the person he was eyeing, it was a red wine barrel. This small moment left readers buzzing. What's Su Bei looking at? That man, they wondered? But in a twist that no one expected, it wasn't the man, it was the red wine. How did Su Bei always seem to know everything? His abilities were still a mystery, leaving everyone eager to see what would happen next. After an uneventful exchange between Su Bei and Wu Jin's group, the atmosphere shifted as a respected elder from the Feng family began his speech. True to Su Bei's prediction, amidst the festive mood, the host raised a toast, and most were quick to oblige, given his high standing. But in the middle of the toasting scene, Su Bei noticed Si's father standing quietly in a corner, not partaking in the ritual. It was clear he'd sensed something was off, hinting at his later hasty exit. Suddenly, the mood shifted when a person collapsed, vomiting blood and convulsing. Initially dismissed as a medical emergency, the situation quickly spiraled as more people succumbed to similar symptoms, creating a scene reminiscent of a zombie outbreak. Panic surged as people rushed to escape, only to find all exits blocked. Amid the chaos, Uncle Tang explained that the bleeding was contagious and everyone had to stay contained, though his explanation felt unconvincing as others continued to collapse. Su Bei, having left just in time, couldn't help but feel relieved. Had he stayed, he'd have been caught in the mayhem of an escape attempt, a predicament he was happy to avoid. As the chapter ended, Su Bei mused that if he were just a reader, the cliffhanger would leave him frustrated, wondering why the story couldn't have ended with the narrow escape. It seemed like every author had mastered the art of cliffhanger. Su, be eager to dive deeper into the unfolding events, skips checking the forums, and focuses on continuing the story of the Feng family. The chaos begins with a tragic poisoning involving red wine laced with a toxin, causing everyone who drank it to fall unconscious. Meanwhile, Jiang Tianming and his companions seized the opportunity to escape through a secret route they had prepared. While they were invited by Feng Lan, Uncle Tang sees them as little more than pawns, yet they are not to be disregarded entirely. Their sudden disappearance sparks a search, with suspicions rising that Feng Lan may have warned them, triggering an intense manhunt. The story intensifies as each character utilizes their special skills to avoid capture. The action escalates when Qi Huang and Su Bei return to the fray, with Wu Jin's talents becoming the center of attention. In a thrilling turn of events, Wu Jin, following Su Bei's lead, steps forward, captivating an enemy with what seems to be his superpower, a mysterious charm that bewilders those around him. As speculation runs wild about the true nature of his ability, the trio shifts focus. After rescuing Qi Huang, they set their sights on freeing the captive guests, whose lives are held in the balance. For as long as they remain in enemy hands, victory will remain out of reach. Inside the mansion, Su Bei's mental power illuminated the path. The beam stretched across the floor, shimmering in a pale purple hue, casting a net through the building. This was his first encounter with such advanced abilities, and the technique was complex, an intricate web of psychic force reaching up to the 10th floor. But despite the careful search, it led nowhere, forcing them to move on to the next level. The 11th floor finally revealed the captives, but instead of being forced into submission, the guests were peacefully indulging in their situation, seemingly enjoying themselves. The trio quickly realized that the red wine was the cause, its addictive effects turning the guests into willing prisoners. Their rescue mission failed, and they had to leave. A heated exchange followed between Chi Huang and Su Bi, the former upset for not warning them about the wine. Wu Jin stepped in to clarify, resolving the dispute. Outside, readers debated. Some sided with Chi Huang, questioning Su Bi's self-centeredness, while others pointed out that Su Bi's reasoning made sense, especially with Wu Jin's explanation. The moral complexity left fans torn. In a world where forgotten characters gain their own agency, the boundaries of heroism and villainy blur. Su Bi and his companions navigate a landscape where time is distorted and fragmented stories fight for dominance. Chi Huang's straightforward nature stands in contrast to the confusion around her, as she and Su Bi share a bond untouched by the typical manga conflicts. As the story unfolds, Jiang Tianming and his group find themselves trapped in an intense pursuit, only to outwit their enemies and capture Feng Ling. She claims to be an ally, but her true motives remain a mystery, leaving everyone questioning whether she is friend or foe. Meanwhile, Si Jiahua faces his own future self, a corrupted version who accepted villainy to save others and together with his team must confront a world spiraling into chaos. The fractured origin pen calls out to them all, signaling that the path ahead is still unwritten, and only through choice can the future be shaped. Si Jiahua's mission seems straightforward: escort the elders to safety, avoiding conflict. But things quickly became more complicated when Uncle Tang, seeing the strategic value of the elders, sought to control the Feng family by capturing them. Second, only to capturing the family's leader. A conversation revealed the Feng family's unique structure. Led by a council of elders, decisions were rarely made by the family head alone. This council arbitrated conflicts, and even the head's appointment was their jurisdiction. To be an elder, one must have a foresight-related power and be over 60, while the family head must be under 50. As Si Jiahua and his group were confronted by enemies, the challenge grew, incapacitating foes while protecting the elders. But with skilled fighters like Li Shu, Wu Mingbai, and Ling Yu and his team, along with Feng Lan's strategy, they swiftly neutralized the threat. Meanwhile, in another part of the world, Su Bi's group, after reuniting with Feng Ling and Su Bei, began to unravel the mystery surrounding the strange red wine and its connection to the Black Flash organization, sparking an eruption of surprise among those following the events. In a world full of intrigue, the connection between Su Bi and Chi Huang was simple yet genuine. Chi Huang, with her honest nature, never hesitated to admit her mistakes and move forward without holding grudges. Meanwhile, Jiang Tianming and his team, after narrowly escaping thanks to Chi Huang's sacrifice, found themselves up against Feng Ling and her group. At first, they feigned defeat, lulling the enemy into a false sense of security, only to turn the tables and capture Feng Ling. Once freed from her parents' control, Feng Ling revealed her true intentions, claiming her aggressive actions were merely to test their identities. She confessed her plan to assist her cousin, Feng Lan, in reclaiming the family's leadership, citing her parents' missteps as a serious threat. Her words were convincing, leaving the group torn between trust and suspicion. Was she genuinely on their side? Jiang Tianming decided to suspend judgment and focus on finding Feng Lan, leaving Feng Ling's fate uncertain. Meanwhile, Si Jiahua's team was ensuring the safety of the Feng family elders, while Feng Lan, ever the strategist, traveled alone, aware that he was the prime target. As the news of the missing wine reached Su Bi, the story quickly took a step back, diving into a detailed and vivid recount of its destruction. Following the briefing, the team questioned Su Bi about potential backups, though Manhwa and Ye Lin's expectations were minimal. But when Su Bi revealed a second sample, their astonishment was palpable, with the audience echoing their surprise. The comment section exploded with praise for Su Bi's meticulousness, calling him the true MVP. As the arc with Su Bi concluded, the focus shifted back to the Feng family, where Jiang Tianming's group, subtly guided by Feng Ling, reached Feng Lan in a secluded spot. Feng Lan, already anticipating their arrival, offered an update on Si Jiahua, revealing he had been monitoring them all along. His warm reception of Feng Ling spoke volumes about his relationship with her, despite the tensions of the moment. But as Feng Ling began speaking with the intent to resolve matters, the distant sound of rapid footsteps signaled the arrival of numerous figures. Panic set in, yet there was no time to hide their position, a dead end with no cover in sight. Uncle Tang and his army of rebels soon appeared, with his smug grin as he called out to Feng Ling, "Come back, daughter. You've done well. Without the tracker on you, we wouldn't have found them so easily." Feng Ling, her expression unreadable, joined her father's side, causing a stir among the group. The comments exploded. She played us! Feng Ling tricked us all! She seems so good, though. Another mole? Please don't let Feng Lan get caught. But Feng Lan had prepared, swiftly handing out earpieces and disappearing. Uncle Tang hesitated, unsure whether to give the order to capture. This pause was all Jiang Tianming's group needed to slip away. Feng Lan's voice echoed through the earpieces, guiding them to safety. Wu Jin, skilled in going unnoticed, followed her instructions and moved toward the library, waiting for Su Bi's return. Follow your instincts, Feng Lan had said. The manga had never previously shown the time spent between Wu Jin and Su Bi, only hinting at their shared absence. Now, with Wu Jin's return to the library, it was clear they had indeed spent time together there. A curious exchange unfolds as one character wonders why the library, another suggests it might be where Su Bi seeks certain knowledge, and yet another expresses hope that a potential meeting between Wu Jin and Su Bi might turn into a romance. Meanwhile, the story shifts focus back to Jiang Tianming, who, amidst the chaos of Feng Lan's strategy, notices a critical flaw. Feng Lan had not accounted for the danger of leaving his hideout unguarded while his defenses were dismantled. Jiang Tianming quickly points out the mistake, realizing that this oversight could lead to the enemy identifying Feng Lan's hideout. His sharp intellect prompts a swift change in plans, with Feng Lan sending someone to monitor the hideout. The scene concludes with readers applauding Jiang Tianming's quick thinking and strategic mind. In the manga, Sube feels a sense of relief as they realize Jiang Tianming is the story's protagonist. Unlike a typical character, Jiang is not someone who needs rescuing, but is instead fully capable of handling the situation. The team expertly traps Uncle Tang and his group near the library, a location Feng Lan had strategically left until the right moment, anticipating Su Bi's return. When the supposed betrayal of Feng Ling occurs, the situation already starts to turn in their favor, with Uncle Tang retreating, leaving behind most of his forces. Realizing defeat is near, he takes one last gamble, holding hostages to try and force a victory. Meanwhile, Feng Lan guides Jiang Tianming's team into setting traps, and even though the traps appear harmless, the S-Class team follows the instructions without question. As Su Bi witnesses these events, they glance through the live chat comments, amused by the reactions to Feng Ling's shifting allegiance. The chat is filled with disbelief and amusement as the audience tries to make sense of the constant back and forth. Trickster author, is fooling us so much fun for you? One comment reads, while another quips, evil good, my head's spinning. And others express surprise, affirming their trust in Su Bi's instincts. As Su Bi watched the unfolding events, a sense of relief washed over him after all. Jiang Tianming was the story's protagonist, and his capabilities made a world of difference. Unlike the usual characters who often required rescuing, Jiang Tianming had the knack for seeing their plans through to the end. After a series of sharp moves, Su Bi and his allies cornered Uncle Tang's group near the library. Feng Lan, ever the strategist, had anticipated this moment, knowing that Su Bi would likely return through that very spot with reinforcements. When Feng Ling's apparent betrayal came to light, it only served to tip the scales in their favor. Uncle Tang, forced into retreat and left with only a handful of guards, was clearly losing his grip. Desperate, he made a bold move by confronting Jiang Tianming's team, holding hostages as leverage. Though this gave him a slim chance of victory, it wasn't enough. Meanwhile, Feng Lan silently guided the team in setting subtle traps, which were followed meticulously. As Su Bi skimmed the unfolding drama, he paused, intrigued by the chaotic reactions in the live chat when Feng Ling's true loyalty was revealed. The comments came flooding in, with viewers expressing their confusion, amusement, and admiration. Trickster author, is fooling us so much fun for you? One comment read. Others were equally stunned, spinning in circles trying to follow the twists. Evil good, my head's spinning. Some, like Su Bi, saw it coming. She really was good. I knew Su Bi's instincts couldn't be wrong. In the end, everyone felt the same. Oops, guessed wrong. The story unfolds in a realm where forgotten narratives collide and characters long discarded regain purpose. Su Bi and his companions awaken in a shifting world, where timelines and memories overlap, and everyone fights to become part of the true canon. As the script layer collapses into chaos, the trio's journey leads them to confront a fractured origin pen, an artifact once thought to control destiny. Alongside their evolving powers, they face forgotten villains, and Subi's team, once overshadowed, rises to meet the challenge. The world is reshaped not by battle, but by the quiet act of letting go. In a bold move, Subi passes the pen to an unnamed minor character, offering hope for a future still unwritten, leaving the narrative open to endless possibilities. Things start off tense. Someone tries to compare Subi to a commander, but hold up! That's not fair! He hasn't shown commanding skills yet. Sure, but has he ever not surprised everyone? Then the fans start clashing, some trying to keep things honest, others getting defensive. Meanwhile, the OP steps in like, guys, relax, this is just an analysis, not a showdown. One reader points out the beauty of contrast in the story, how the creator used prophecy powers differently for each character, showing there's no repetition, only intention. It's clear now, this manga isn't about who's stronger, but how each path reveals a different side of the same chaos. In a world shaped not by ink, but by the power of forgotten futures and willpower, Subi and his companions awaken to a new reality, the legacy script. Here, abandoned villains regain autonomy, and side characters step into the spotlight as timelines struggle to overwrite one another. With the power of true voice, Zhao Xiaoyu unravels unwritten threads, while Si Zhaohua faces a future version of himself who embraced villainy to protect others. As the origin pen splinters, the world around them collapses into chaos. Amid this, Subi realizes that to break the loop, he must relinquish control not by rewriting history, but by letting someone else bear the pen. The world resets, undefined, free, and full of endless possibilities. The narrative takes a new path, guided not by dominance, but by the choices of those who choose to let go. In this chapter, Subi and Woojin disappear after everyone splits up, only to reappear during lunch. It's revealed that they were in the library, though it's unclear what they were doing there instead of helping Feng Lan. Some speculate they were just there to read, while others think Woojin might be searching for answers about nightmare beasts. A few even wonder if Subi's actions are more motivated by curiosity than kindness. As the puzzle unravels, the mystery deepens. Subi's decision to visit the library becomes the start of an intriguing journey as he, alongside his companions, dives deeper into a dimension where past, present, and future collide, the legacy script. In this world, forgotten villains find new life, side characters take center stage, and timelines clash as each version vies for dominance. The mysterious true voice ability of Zhao Xiaoyu begins to unravel the narrative, while Si Zhaohua faces his future self, a version that has accepted the role of the villain. As the origin pen reappears, broken into pieces, the world around them begins to collapse into chaos. Yet it is Subi's choice to relinquish control and hand the pen to an unexpected character that offers the world a new beginning, a future undefined and open to all possibilities. This chapter reveals a bittersweet truth. Sometimes, true creation comes not from control, but from letting go. In a world where forgotten villains and side characters seek new purpose, the legacy script plays host to a battle between timelines. Here, the past, present, and future overlap, and memories collide. Subi and his companions discover that they must navigate this chaotic realm where discarded foes regain control and forgotten stories come to life. Zhao Xiaoyu's newfound power, the true voice, holds the key to restoring lost memories, while Si Zhaohua faces a future version of himself who chose to embrace villainy to save others. The origin pen, fractured into three, becomes the center of their quest, offering them a choice: shape the story or let it break free. As the world falls apart, Subi steps forward, choosing to let go of control and pass the pen to an unknown character, allowing the future to be rewritten anew. Subi couldn't help but smile as he skimmed through the thread. The prophet account had been silent for quite a while, and it seemed people were getting restless. They joked about an old adversary possibly silencing him, but what they didn't know was that Subi wasn't absent because he couldn't be found, he simply didn't need to show up anymore. The prophet persona had served its purpose, helping him gain influence, and now he was quietly digesting what he had achieved. Despite the curiosity surrounding the secrets of the library, revealing his findings wasn't an easy decision. There were countless speculations floating around, none of them close to the truth. The meteor fall was a key detail, but mentioning it could stir unwanted attention. Subi understood the importance of subtlety. His occasional leaks of information were carefully calibrated, just enough to spark curiosity without giving away too much. Subi had a moment of hesitation, concerned that pushing too far might catch the author's attention. The manga consciousness could protect him from some scrutiny, but not from everyone. After thinking it over, he decided to wait. He would let Jiang Tianming handle the manga's introduction and guide the readers later. There was no need to rush. Meanwhile, discussions about the Academy's mole were buzzing, but Subi could tell they weren't analyzing deeply enough. They were off with their guesses, even though they were headed in the right direction. He stretched as the update came to a close, confident no new plot twists would happen during the break. The manga updates followed a rhythm, pacing itself well. 2 plots in the break, 3 chapters was just enough. The next update would likely return to school. No new plot didn't mean rest, though. Subi prepped for the second use of Dream Bubble, intending to explore the Destiny Compass discovery he made last time. He couldn't study it further yet, but this was his chance to dive into it. He'd work today, rest for 3 days, and then begin school perfect timing. As before, he made character models, but this time, he didn't put in much effort. Instead of individual characters, he modeled an entire class, S-Class, in one go. Zhao Xiaoyu burst into laughter, admiring the creativity of the idea. Haha, that's so creative. What will you do with the scarf? Can you give me one? I'll keep it. Subi Ei, silent, is caught off guard by her reaction. Mo Xiaoshan, curious, leans in. What's so funny? Zhao Xiaoyu looks at Subi but doesn't answer, understanding his reluctance to share. Finally, Subi speaks up, explaining, we're discussing how weaving scarves controls advanced mental energy. Mo Xiaotian, eyes wide in surprise, responds, weaving scarves? That's cool. I want to try! His enthusiasm is infectious, and even Subi admits why characters like Mo Xiaotian are universally loved. The next day, Mo Xiaotian shows up with yarn and knitting needles, determined. I'll awaken advanced mental energy someday. Practicing now builds experience. His logic may be odd, but it doesn't end there. The following day, Zhao Xiaoyu brings her knitting supplies, following the same reasoning. In a world where the fates of people are intertwined in ways more complex than simple connections, Subi discovers the true potential of his new ability. Destiny best of all. Initially, it seems like the power to influence linked individuals, like classmates or those with shared experiences. But Subi soon uncovers an unexpected truth. Even unconnected people, when their paths form a line or circle, can be faintly linked. Though this connection is fragile and easily broken, Subi learns to reinforce it using his mental energy, allowing even distant, unlinked individuals to influence one another. While the skill seems inefficient at first, draining a lot of energy for little gain, Subi realizes its true value lies in its subtlety. It allows him to manipulate fates from behind the scenes, silently affecting others without anyone suspecting a thing. This power, with its potential for quiet devastation, fuels Subi's growth and hints at a much deeper mastery waiting to be unlocked. In a world where forgotten futures collide, Subi, lying in bed weekly, reflects on his life. Unable to cook due to a natural flaw in his abilities, takeout becomes his only solace. While the world around him swirls with rumors about a prominent family's troubles, Subi remains unfazed. The prophecy of a looming demise for a notorious villain group is shared, but Subi, understanding the inevitable cycles of hero and villain narratives, accepts this fate with ease. As the group discusses the unfolding events, it becomes clear that this twisted tale is one of inevitable endings, where every character, whether villain or hero, must face their destiny. In a dramatic turn of events, the power of the Bloodline secret art proves to be more than just a legend, restoring the Fang family's reputation. The unexpected downfall of Black Flash sends shockwaves through the community, though most are more thrilled than sympathetic. Seizing the moment, Feng Ling returns to the radio station, using the turmoil to secure a spot on the Elder Council. By the time she reaches 50, she'll become the youngest elder, but it comes with the cost of never being eligible for family leadership. She makes this sacrifice to prevent being manipulated, as she and Feng Lan are the only ones with prophetic abilities in their generation. With this choice, the Feng family's internal affairs are temporarily put on hold, including unresolved issues like her uncle's fate and the awaited red wine antidote. Meanwhile, at school, Subi starts the new semester without the hindrance of the Dream Bubble debuff. As he steps into class, he finds the usual buzz of conversation, with Mo Xiaotian already there, delivering gifts from his grandfather as a thank you for their help the previous semester. It's a small gesture, but it holds significance as they prepare for what lies ahead. Subi couldn't shake the feeling that something was off when Mo Xiaotian handed him the mysterious gift. No reward without merit, he remarked, eyeing the item suspiciously. Mo Xiaotian, usually carefree, suddenly grew serious, yet his innocent face made him seem like a child trying to sound wise. How can you say that? You helped me a lot. Take the midterm exam, you earned this. Despite his words, Subi remained skeptical. He knew the effort everyone put in to help Mo Xiaotian pass, and they all deserved a gift. But the sudden shift in Mo Xiaotian's tone was unsettling. Mo Xiaotian had never been this logical before. Was this a trap? The doubt gnawed at Subi as he glanced at the gift again, wondering whether it was the act of opening it, accepting it, or using it that would cause something to trigger. He wasn't one to rush into things, especially when something felt off. Deciding to avoid any potential trouble, he left the gift untouched. He wasn't going to risk it, not unless he had no other choice. After all, some dangers weren't so easy to avoid. Mo Xiaotian, oblivious to Subi's reservations, simply greeted the next person, unaware of the unease the gift had caused. Subi's situation wasn't as straightforward as he had hoped. The item didn't need verbal consent, but that didn't guarantee the best outcome. In fact, things were still on a knife's edge. Soon, Zhou Renji arrived with a batch of photos of renovated one-bedroom units. They were perfect for the occasional use Su Bei needed, ready to move in without hassle. After looking through the photos, Su Bei picked a minimalist one with mostly black and white furniture, reflecting his style. He transferred the payment, trusting Zhou Renji's reputation, though the payment drained his saving. Still, Subi wasn't concerned he'd earned most of the house's cost last semester, even with time spent studying. His confidence in earning it back next semester remained high. His goal was simple: enough savings for a hardware store and some retirement, after which he'd stop. But if saving the world wasn't on the cards, that retirement seemed pointless. Meanwhile, others had no hesitation in opening their gifts from Mo Xiaoshan, with Zhao Xiaoyu seeking permission before unwrapping hers. The universally useful U-shaped pillow, perfectly matching everyone's hair colors, looked as comfy as it was practical. Zhao Xiaoyu smiled as she tucked the gift behind her neck, feeling its comforting presence. "Thanks, it feels nice," she said. Mo Xiaotian grinned, explaining that the item carried a permanent ability promising restful sleep. However, Subi wasn't impressed. His instincts told him that such a gift would come with the dark side, perhaps plunging the user into endless slumber or distorting their dreams. He figured he'd stash it away, hoping it wouldn't trigger any unwanted consequences. As he mulled it over, Feng Lan walked in, looking over the room before stepping up to announce the resolution of the recent crisis. The moles have all been caught. The antidote for the red wine is still being worked on, but progress is being made. Then came the unexpected reward. Each of you will receive 20 million, plus a 5-day training trip to the Vixie Holy Land. The mention of the vast sum didn't stir much reaction from the wealthier members of the group, but the mention of the Vixie Holy Land caught everyone off guard. Vixie Holy Land? What's that? Mutirin asked, clearly confused. The mystery deepened, leaving everyone eager for answers. In a world where past, present, and future bleed into one another, Su Bei and his companions find themselves in a dimension formed by memory and untold stories. Here, discarded villains regain their freedom, and forgotten characters fight for their place in the narrative. With Zhao Xiaoyu's newly awakened true voice, she unravels hidden truths, stitching memories into characters once lost. As the origin pen reappears, fragmented into 3 pieces, the trio faces a pivotal choice. Each piece pulls them in a different direction, showing what they desire most. Amid the collapse of timelines, where arcs fight for dominance, the world teeters on the edge of destruction. In this chaos, Subi is offered the chance to rewrite the future, but he chooses to surrender control, allowing a forgotten character to step forward. This marks the end of an era of dominance and the beginning of a new, undefined future free and full of endless possibilities. In the world of rare and coveted slots, gathering them was nearly impossible, especially the coveted 15-slot set. Feng Lan, with calm confidence, revealed that her family had long been in partnership with a powerful Holy Land, offering strategic protection through prophecy. The family, despite their weak combat abilities, had managed to secure influence by remaining neutral, making them a sought-after ally for every faction. Their ability to foresee dangers through prophecy gave them leverage in maintaining stability. As the conversation turned to Vixie Holy Land, Zhao Xiaoyu eagerly raised her hand, curious about the possibility of an upcoming trip. The allure of boosting her mental energy was irresistible to her, especially since the Academy's sponsorship program required repayment. The opportunity to receive such benefits without the strings attached of a forced agreement was too good to pass up. Though bound by the Academy's contract to work for 20 years, it felt more like a chance for growth and security rather than a burden. With her powerful ability against nightmare beasts, her future seemed secured whether at one of the 3 academies or in the service of a family. However, her trust lay in the nurturing academy that supported her development. After returning to Vixie Holy Land, Feng Lan answered Zhao Xiaoyu, saying the plan would take place after the midterm, aligning with the Revival Festival when the Endless Ability Academy usually gives a week off. He added that if anyone couldn't accept the compensation, they'd have another arrangement ready. After stepping down from the podium and thanking everyone for their help, he hoped the compensation would satisfy them. The group was surprised, though, as they hadn't expected anything, making it an unexpected and delightful gesture. Su Bei, unfamiliar with Vixie Holy Land, noticed Zhou Renji's excited reactions, indicating it was highly beneficial, especially for ability users. Su Bei's advanced mental energy made him particularly interested in the mental energy boost offered. He realized how critical this boost had been, especially when using his ability, and without it, even small tasks could drain him. Su Bei knew the protagonist group would get opportunities, but he wasn't sure about himself, as opportunities were often personal, like his experience in the mine, where he gained nothing despite being there. He had asked about mental energy boosts, hoping for some advantage. After the explosion, everyone gained varying boosts, with those closer to the blast receiving the most. Su Bei, devastated by his mischance, longed for a mental energy boost more than anyone else. The loss stung his heart deeply. Since then, he hadn't encountered another opportunity for a boost. Mental crystals, which only restored energy and were incompatible with him, didn't help. Through trial and error, he discovered that while his invisibility charm allowed him to hide, mental crystals did not. Taking one out made him an easy target, as detection devices could sense their signals. This was a problem for someone who thrived on stealth. He sold most of his mental crystals to fund a house purchase after all. Having a house but no money was a bit awkward. He thought he was broke, but a sudden 20 million from Feng Lan lifted him back into financial comfort. Before his teacher arrived, Su Bei quickly searched Vixie Holy Land on his phone. He couldn't find anything on Baidu, but the ability user's official site had exactly what he was looking for. Vixie Holy Land is a mysterious island, unclaimed by any nation but abundant in rare ability. Each year, a select few ability users are granted access for training, though details about the place are scarce, hidden under layers of secrecy. In class, as the bell rings, Manhwa arrives, promptly reminding everyone to submit their different space reflection homework. The class, despite its small size of 15 students, knows better than to slack off, especially Mo Xiaotian, the class's underperformer, who somehow managed to finish everything. Manhwa, aware of Mo Xiaotian's struggles, rarely gives praise, but even completing the work is a step forward for him. As homework is submitted, Su Bei notices Mu Tiran, who appears exhausted, his eyes heavy with dark circles, clearly worn out. Observing Mo Xiaotian's display of gratitude towards the teacher, Su Bei quietly reflects on how some people silently bear the burden while others enjoy peaceful times. Manhwa, uninterested in the homework, throws the pile aside after collecting it, showing no intent to grade it after all. Who would want to read students' diaries? He then outlines the semester's plan, emphasizing the importance of the major exams: the first, monthly, midterm, and final. His gaze lands on Mo Xiaoshan as he states that passing the academic exams is the minimum requirement to remain in the class, making Mo Xiaoshan's face fall. He despised academic classes. The fact that someone as upbeat as him could hate them was a testament to how bad he was at them. Excited to become an ability user, he thought he'd escape the misery of exams and schoolwork. Who would have guessed that even in an academy for ability users, subjects like math, physics, and chemistry were still mandatory? It was torture, but from the back of the room, Su Bei wasn't worried. According to his plot rhythm sense, Mo Xiaotian might not stay in the S class for long. Su Bei was still shocked that Mo Xiaotian hadn't been exposed as a mole last semester. He doubted he'd make it through another. Manhwa then explained that this semester would continue with last semester's teaching model, focusing more on different space training alongside additional missions. The school had already covered most of the mental energy training, so it was time for physical training to begin. Subi and the others, who had already started physical training, would need adjustments. Zhao Xiao Yu, who had undergone a shift in her abilities, would focus on strengthening her mental energy. Meanwhile, Mu Tiran had to maintain his physical training, aiming to reach the strength he showed during the final exam. If he did, he'd be good. Meng Huai observed Mu Tiran's incredible transformation, leaving the teachers in awe. They accepted his explanation because nothing else seemed plausible. Mu Tiran offered a wry smile, acknowledging the difficulty of such strength. However, as the diligent student, he didn't challenge his teachers, even when the goal was challenging. "I'll do my best," he promised. When Meng Huai turned to Subi, he couldn't help but feel puzzled. With Subi's top-tier mental energy and exceptional physical abilities, the school had little to offer him except combat experience. Yet, the Endless Ability Academy, renowned for nurturing prodigies, had its methods for students like him. For Subi, the plan is to focus on precise mental energy control. You'll learn to manage every bit of your mental energy using it optimally, Meng Huai explained. While this was an advanced course for ordinary ability users, it was basic for someone as skilled as Subi. Meng Huai wasn't sure Subi needed it, but offered to reassess after testing. This was exactly what Subi required. His mental energy had been amplified through unrepeatable means, and he needed structured training. Though he had tried refining his control, he hadn't worked on the energy itself. This academy's training was just what he needed. As the bell rang, signaling the end of class, the room buzzed with excitement. Tomorrow's lecture was going to be special, an in-depth look at high-level nightmare beasts. The academy had captured one for study, a rare opportunity. Students were both amazed and curious, knowing they had faced these beasts before, but never studied them up close. I Baozhu, ever the dreamer, couldn't help but wonder aloud, what if it's a handsome one? Si Zhaohua raised an eyebrow, amused, asking what she'd do if that were the case. With a grin, A Baozhu replied, I'd study him, of course. It's much better than dealing with something dark and ugly. The anticipation was palpable, the next day promising a mix of fear and fascination as they prepared for an experience unlike any other. Her words struck a chord with the group, and Shi Wang, nodding thoughtfully, wondered aloud about the transformation of something so dark into a handsome figure. Lan Subing softly noted that good features would shine through any form, though the rarity of encountering humanoid high-level nightmare beasts left them uncertain. They had seen one, a featureless little black figure, but that was all. Sensing a shift in the mood, A Baozhu quickly steered the conversation away, asking about the protective items they planned to bring. Mu Tiran logically explained that the academy's safety measures were robust, and this wasn't the first class dealing with a high-level nightmare beast. Subi, although reassured, couldn't shake the feeling that Meng Huai's cryptic words about the newly caught beast carried a hidden warning. Still, the safety protocols seemed solid, and Subi decided to prepare nonetheless. With class winding down after some light discussion about homework, Meng Huai returned to touch on the ongoing red wine antidote development, leaving them with a sense of uneasy anticipation about what was to come. It's not just addictive, it exposes the darkness hidden deep inside. Take this as a lesson. Avoid eating food from outside when you can. This time, it was just wine, so you got away. But what if next time it's a regular drink? Would you still fall for it? Meng Huai was right. Their escape was only because the poison was in the wine. If it had been something else, someone would have suffered. But poisoning the wine wasn't just a lucky break for the protagonists. People have their own preferences. Not everyone eats the same. Wine, though, is different. It's a social custom, and very few people turn it down, especially when it's low-alcohol red wine. That's why the red wine was the perfect choice. After Meng Huai dismissed everyone, Subi turned to Si Zhaohua, curious. By the way, how did your father manage to avoid the trouble? Subi had already suspected that Si's father wouldn't be affected. Getting poisoned at someone else's banquet, especially with an addictive toxin, would be a huge loss of face. And as a father, the shame would also fall on Si Zhaohua. So it was highly likely that Si's father would be fine. But even knowing that, Subi Ei was still curious about how he managed to escape. I found a chance to warn my father about the Feng family issue, Si Zhaohua explained. Si Jiahua explained that he never ate outside food, so he wasn't swayed, and eventually rejoined the familiar elders of the Feng family. Su Bi understood this well. While others might share similar habits, they either trusted the Feng family or lacked the power to defy the social norms of the workplace. When the host called for a toast, they had no choice but to drink, unable to refuse. Zhao Xiaoyu then turned to Feng Lan, asking how the events had affected the family. Feng Lan didn't hide the truth, nodding and admitting that it had indeed caused some impact. The Feng family would refrain from holding such events for years, but as long as they continued to produce prophecy abilities, the effect would be limited. The core strength of the Feng family was rooted in prophecy, not these events. So as long as that remained intact, their decline would not be imminent. The next morning, during Manhwa's class, Su Bi saw a massive cage covered with a red cloth beside the podium. Inside was a high-level nightmare beast, its presence carefully guarded by Manhwa, who had arrived early to prevent any peeking. Mo Xiaotian curiously circled the cage and asked if this was the high-level nightmare beast, puzzled by its silence. A sly grin flickered across Manhwa's face before he masked it with a serious expression, claiming the creature was under control and would speak once the cloth was removed. Su Bi, sitting silently, sensed something odd in the creature's voice and found Manhwa's reaction suspicious. Unwilling to trust a teacher like him, Su Bi took precautions. In the bathroom, he soaked paper and fashioned makeshift earplugs, ready by the time the bell rang. As Manhwa calmly introduced the high-level nightmare beast, the students, all in their mid-teens, buzzed with excitement. Most eagerly raised their hands except for Su Bi and a few cautious others. Manhwa selected Zhang Tianming to unveil the creature. When the cloth was lifted, gasps erupted across the room. It was a mermaid, its black tail coiled in a tank, glimmering scales catching the light, and its seaweed-like hair floating with eerie grace. With a face sculpted like perfect black jade, every feature seemed flawless. Su Bi had heard that good features could look great in any color, and it seemed to be true. Suddenly, a melody filled the air, soft and enchanting. It was like hearing the songs of a famous band familiar, yet utterly strange. Su Bi caught himself, realizing the song was unfamiliar, and yet he could recall it as if he'd heard it before. Others around him seemed mesmerized, but only he noticed the oddity. His attention shifted to Wu Jin, who, despite hearing the same song, appeared completely unaffected. Su Bi quickly realized the song was a charm-type ability, one that Wu Jin's powers would block. With a knowing glance, they silently communicated. Su Bi slipped in his earplugs, feeling a sense of certainty. It was clear the principal had caught a nightmare beast. The mermaid's charm seemed to fit perfectly with Wu Jin, and his composed demeanor made it clear he'd encountered such abilities before. Suddenly, a chalk piece struck Su Bi out of nowhere. Despite his heightened mental energy, he couldn't avoid it. Looking up, Manhwa wore a smug smile, a warning in his gaze he didn't want Su Bi to spill the truth. He wanted the others to piece it together on their own. Su Bi had no objections. He preferred this method. Is this really a high-level nightmare beast? Qi Huang questioned, eyeing the statue-like mermaid. Manhwa snapped his fingers. The mermaid's eyelashes fluttered, and its eerie, ink-black eyes opened. It didn't move much, merely flicking its tail and staying still. Manhwa began his usual lecture, glossing over the creature's abilities, but providing basic knowledge on high-level nightmare beasts. While it wasn't groundbreaking, it was new to Su Bi and his group, who listened intently. Manhwa explained that a nightmare beast's abilities were often tied to its appearance. Killing one usually resulted in either a corpse and an ability item, or no corpse at all. The best way to defeat a high-level nightmare beast was with a single, fatal blow, as some had a self-destruct mechanism. He then shot a pointed glance at Su Bi's group, knowing they were aware that had the Cloud Nightmare Beast exploded, they would be nothing but ashes. The four exchanged sheepish smiles, unaware of what was about to happen. Shonen manga thrived on boldness and daring actions, even for the usually composed Zhang Tianming. But the lesson learned meant they wouldn't repeat their mistake. After a long period of lecture, Manhwa paused, signaling a break. Use the bathroom if needed. We'll continue after. With a polite nod, he left, closing the door behind him. As soon as the door clicked shut, the atmosphere in the classroom shifted. Students, once focused, were now drawn toward the cage like magnets. Su Bi glanced at the still Wu Jin. Who do you think it'll attack first if they open it? Wu Jin hesitated, nervously pointing at himself. Us? Subi smiled falsely and moved toward the back door. And you're still here waiting for it to come for us? But as he tried to pull the door open, his expression shifted. It's locked. Realizing that the front door was likely locked too, Subi scanned the room before rushing to the window. Thankfully, Manhwa hadn't locked it. He slid it open and jumped out. Being first years, their classroom was on the ground floor, making their escape easy. Once Woojin followed, they shut the window. Meanwhile, the cage door was slowly creaking open. The mermaid, now agitated, struck the tank with a powerful flick of its tail, causing water to surge into the classroom. Outside, Subi could feel the disturbance inside with his mental energy. The mermaid attempted to force the door open, but the academy's doors proved too sturdy, even for a formidable nightmare beast. It then tried to use Jiang Tianming's group to open the door, but their efforts were in vain. Like Subi, the mermaid considered the window, but unlike the smooth escape from before, it was now sealed shut. Su-Bei realized that the teachers had the situation under control. The class was over for him. With a smile, he turned to Woojin, suggesting they grab a bite to eat. Woojin hesitated, casting a final glance at the classroom before nodding. As Subi had suspected, Woojin had seen this nightmare beast during the break and used it for training. Its power was weak, relying on its enchanting song, and with the teachers present, nothing would go wrong. There was no point in staying. Lunch with Su-Bei made far more sense. The point system cafeteria was quiet when they arrived, and Subi, no longer the student reliant on others' generosity, ordered a lavish meal to celebrate the new semester. Whispers filled the air as other first years, like Subi, now had points to spare after months of exams and teacher rewards. Most had saved up, enjoying the newfound freedom. The cafeteria had become much livelier than it had been at the start of the semester. But one student stood out from the crowd. Subi, effortlessly ordering a large amount of food, caught everyone's attention. Whispers spread quickly through the room as students recognized him. "Isn't that Subi from S class? The one who scored third in the 3-school finals?" they murmured, amazed by his points. After the last semester, even Wu Jin and Lan Subing had learned to ignore such attention, and Subi, with his usual calm, did the same. As he and Wu Jin left, they crossed paths with a flustered S-class group arriving for their meal. Their disheveled appearance spoke volumes: wet shoes, messy braids, and frustration. A Baoju shot an angry look at Subi, demanding an explanation. "You two didn't warn us at all," she snapped, clearly upset. With a calm smile, Subi shifted the blame. "I wanted to, but the teacher wouldn't let me." Subi and his companions found themselves caught in a complex web of miscommunication, hints, and consequences. When teacher Meng Huai forbids any warnings, the team realizes that their failure to act earlier was due to their own oversight. Though some of them, like Jiang Tianming, try to take the blame, the truth is that Meng Huai had already provided clear hints. He'd suggested bringing protective gear, subtly warning them about the nightmare beast, but they had dismissed it as a routine precaution. Li Shu's pointed comment to Subi about catching the teacher's hint made everyone reflect. Subi, ever the straight talker, admits he knew the beast would talk once the cloth was lifted. A hint no one could have missed. Wu Jin, on the other hand, felt the weight of guilt, knowing he could have done more even without explicitly defying the teacher's command, especially since he had a close connection with Jiang Tianming. The tension was palpable. Everyone understood the lesson. But the real question was, who would truly take responsibility for the chaos? The warning wasn't what it seemed, and the teacher's ban was the only truth that mattered. Everyone quickly understood Meng Huai's intent. He wanted to teach them a lesson, not let the early detectors spoil his plan. While they grumbled, no one really blamed Subi and Wu Jin. Jiang Tianming calmly acknowledged, "It was our mistake. The teacher gave us a hint yesterday. He had told them to bring protective items, clearly suggesting trouble with the nightmare beast, but they dismissed it as routine, trusting the school too much." Li Shu turned to Subi asking, "Did you catch the hint from the teacher yesterday?" His words carried a subtle challenge. If Subi had caught on, he had the chance to warn the others. Subi, always the one to roll his eyes at such jabs, replied, "I figured it out when the teacher mentioned that the nightmare beast could talk once the cloth was lifted. Everyone's realization hit, then those hints were clear, and missing them meant they deserved the lesson." Wu Jin, however, was silent, consumed by guilt. Even though Meng Huai forbade him from warning Jiang Tianming's group, Wu Jin had the chance to help his partner, the mermaid, without needing any warning. After the lunch break, he regained his composure and realized how foolish his actions had been. Subi, not one to dwell on small matters, accepted the situation calmly, but he knew better than to ignore Zhou Renji's volatile nature, which would likely cause more trouble in the future. The author's foreshadowing didn't escape Subi's notice, and he understood that lingering conflicts had more weight than those resolved quickly. The tension had only just begun. The next day, Manhwa brought up the previous incident. Mu Tiren, always the diligent student, stood and confessed his mistakes with precision. Their failure to stay alert, their negligence in understanding the nightmare beast, and their inability to recognize the teacher's hints. His words hit the mark, and Manhwa acknowledged him with approval. Then, it was Subi's turn. With no way out, he confessed, admitting his faults without hesitation. It was a surprising moment of self-awareness for the usual troublemaker, and all eyes were on him as he took responsibility. Sube felt the weight of his actions, the room falling silent as everyone turned their gaze toward him. He couldn't help but ask, despite his hesitation, "What's wrong?" Sube confessed with an honesty that cut through the tension, admitting he'd once stayed silent out of fear of authority. Manhwa, with a darkened expression, half laughed, half furious, pointing at Sube, his words laced with challenge. "Well said. Let's see if you can perform just as well in the physical class this afternoon." Sube, undeterred, shrugged and sat back, knowing this would be his chance to test his limits during the training, eager to see where he stood. Days passed uneventfully, the calm world almost feeling like a dream. No strange disturbances or mysterious events shook the routine until Sube stumbled upon his notebook's notes on meteor fall. The words jolted him back to reality, realizing it was time to find the right moment to share this discovery with his companions. With the first monthly exam approaching, he believed this would be the perfect plot point to introduce the idea and spark further discussion. Meanwhile, Sube continued refining his mental energy control under Manhwa's guidance, focused on blending raw power with his abilities, as each step of his training required a deep understanding of his own potential. Zhao Xiaoyu couldn't hold back her laughter, completely amused by the idea. She laughed aloud, teasing, "That's so creative! What will you do with the scarf? Can you give me one? I'll keep it." Sube was left speechless. Before he could even respond, Mo Xiaoqian leaned in, curious, "What's so funny?" Zhao Xiaoyu glanced at Sube, understanding his hesitation. She chose not to spread it, but Sube wasn't one to hide. "We're discussing how weaving scarves with mental energy controls advanced mental energy," he explained. Mo Xiaotian's eyes widened in surprise, but his reaction was surprisingly fitting. "Weaving scarves? That's so cool! I want to try!" Even Sube had to admit, Mo Xiaoxian's energetic vibe was undeniably infectious. The next day, Mo Xiaoxian showed up with yarn and knitting needles, ready to practice. Sube laughed incredulously. "You're really knitting?" Mo Xiaoxian nodded confidently. "I'll awaken advanced mental energy someday. Practicing now builds experience." His reasoning was absurd, but the following day, Zhao Xiaoyu showed up with her own knitting supplies for the same purpose. Zhao Xiaoyu couldn't hold back her laughter as she burst out, "That's so creative! What will you do with the scarf? Can you give me one? I'll keep it." Sube stood there speechless. Before he could respond, Mo Xiaoqian leaned in curiously. "What's so funny?" Zhao Xiaoyu glanced at Subi, but remained quiet, sensing his hesitation and respecting it. Sube, however, didn't shy away and replied, "We're discussing how weaving scarves with mental energy controls advanced mental energy." Mo Xiaotian's eyes widened in surprise, but he quickly followed up with, "Wow, that's so cool, I want to try." Even Sube had to admit, Mo Xiaotian's uncontainable energy made him a likable character, his enthusiasm bringing light to every situation. The next day, Mo Xiaotian showed up with yarn and knitting needles, ready to take on the challenge. Sube chuckled, "You're really knitting?" Mo Xiaotian grinned, full of confidence. "I'll awaken advanced mental energy one day. Practicing now will build experience." His reasoning might have been absurd, but the very next day, Zhao Xiaoyu brought her own knitting supplies, citing the same reason. By the fourth day, the entire class had followed Mo Xiaotian's lead, knitting in class. Sube, not one to miss a beat, quickly figured it out. Mo Xiaoshan was genuinely interested in knitting, while Zhao Xiaoyu and the others were likely just trying to save his pride. They probably assumed he felt embarrassed, and thus they knitted alongside him to keep him company. It was a mix of humor and kindness, a small yet meaningful gesture. Subi felt a bit of shame, but no real aversion after all. It was about strength, not some sneaky tactic. Why should he object? Their consideration was heartwarming. Without saying a word, he simply focused on training his mental energy during class breaks. As the class pulled out yarn and needles to knit scarves, teachers were left speechless, unsure if this was some hidden school activity. Days passed, and another week came to a close. The atmosphere at school felt strange. Subi, not one to seek gossip, couldn't ignore the restlessness among upperclassmen. Was it the monthly exam? He turned to Zhao Xiaoyu, always in the know, and she confirmed it. The exam was coming. The school is buzzing with excitement as the teachers prepare to announce the details of the upcoming midterm, a 3-school competition. This monthly exam serves as the selection for the school team, and Subi, a veteran in shonen manga and novels, knows how important these competitions are an opportunity to shine. He asks about the process, and while some students, like Si Zhaohua, are well informed, others are left curious. Wu Mingbai wonders if other grades will form teams as well. And Zhao Xiaoyu explains that the monthly exam is divided into tracks: attack, control, support, defense, and special, each track selecting one main competitor and one reserve for the midterm. Subi feels confident, particularly in the special track, as many from his class, even the strongest, could join other tracks. Yet only 10 slots are available, meaning some will inevitably miss out. Subi curiously asks Zhao Xiaoyu which track she plans to choose, but she teases him with a playful wink, revealing that she isn't competing at all. Subi was rarely taken by surprise, but this time a smile played across his face as he raised his voice. For the midterm, I'll volunteer to host the 3-school competition. You might see me as the host. Normally, hosts were third years, seasoned and powerful, gaining prestige for their resumes. But against expectations, Zhao Xiaoyu secured the position. With her powerful happiness ability, which soothed the fury of nightmare beasts and calmed human tempers, she was the perfect choice. In a high-stakes competition where emotions ran wild and even first years were elite, real fights could easily break out. The teachers, after much discussion, agreed that Zhao Xiaoyu's calming influence was just what was needed. You planned all this out? Ai Baju said in shock. The monthly exam isn't even here yet, and you've already got your midterm role? Mo Xiaoshan, ever the one to set the mood, added, You're amazing, a host, like the cheerleader at school sports meets? Zhao Xiaoyu hadn't even considered that. Her face turned serious, imagining herself delivering those cringeworthy speeches and instinctively wanting to cover her ears. Subi was rarely caught off guard, but this time, she couldn't help but smile. For the midterms, I'll be volunteering as a host for the 3-school competition. You might even see me on stage. Hosting was usually reserved for third years who had more experience, a prestigious position that also looked great on resumes. But this time, it was Zhao Xiaoyu who had secured the role. Her unique ability, which was powerful against nightmare beasts and could calm human anger, made her the perfect choice. In a competition with high stakes, where tempers often ran wild, even first-year students, each possessing elite abilities, could easily escalate into real fights. Teachers feared they might not be able to intervene in time. Zhao Xiaoyu's calming power convinced the teachers to let her take charge. You've planned that far ahead? Ai Baoshu exclaimed, astonished. The monthly exam isn't even here, and you already have a role for the midterms? Mo Xiaoxian, always the mood setter, added with a grin, You're amazing, a host, like the ones who read cheer scripts at sports meets? Zhao Xiaoyu, however, hadn't thought of it that way. The idea of delivering those cringy speeches made her cringe too. Could she really do it? In a world where abilities are watched by rivals and mysterious groups, Subi faces the constant threat of exposure. As a top-tier member with powerful skills, he needs to be cautious. Every action must have a believable excuse, especially with the 2 dead criminals whose secrets might still haunt him. However, it's not just his enemies he has to watch out for. Even the perception of his abilities could lead to distrust. As time goes on, Subi and his companions prepare for an upcoming exam that tests individual strength with the stakes higher than ever. The competition is fierce, only a few slots are available, and each person knows the hardest opponent might be the one staring back at them in the mirror. As the monthly exam looms, some students have their sights set solely on acing the upcoming tests, leaving the 3-school competition behind. Others, however, are driven by the fierce desire to take down the elite S-class and prove themselves worthy of joining its ranks. Meanwhile, there are those who feel they might not have what it takes to match S-Class in raw power, but still believe they have a shot in other areas. The Endless Ability Academy, being privately ranked the highest, offers a golden opportunity representing it could open doors for career prospects or coveted team slots. With much anticipation building up, Monday of the 4th week arrives, and Manhwa steps into the classroom with a knowing smile. "Your hearts seem unsettled," he remarks, scanning the class before calling out, "Mutiran, what's the discussion about?" With a polite answer about the monthly exam, Manhwa nods and takes his place at the podium. Without hesitation, he dives straight into the details of the exam. "As you've probably heard, this is an intra-school track competition," he announces. Attack, defense, control, support, and special tracks will each have 2 participants, one main and one reserve, who will go on to represent us at the midterm 3-school competition. Although this was old news, Manhwa adds something new. The rules are strict. No items, no intentional killing, and absolutely no banned substances like stimulants. These apply not just here, but in international competitions too. The stakes are high, and the competition is about to get real. Manhwa's words hung in the air, a chilling reminder to the class. With 10 spots in total and 15 students in their group, the competition was about to get fierce. The potential for an outsider to join their S-Class was real, and no one wanted to be the one left behind. "Our class won't change, but the best might move in," Manhwa sneered. The tension was palpable. If another class took a slot, it could mean humiliation for someone in the group. Losing to a peer was one thing, but losing to an outsider was a mark of failure they couldn't afford. The class buzzed with urgency. Jiang Tianming, ever the curious one, raised his hand, asking when they'd get the details for the exams. Manhwa's answer was simple: the day before. Then Chi Wang chimed in, asking about the exam process. "No," Manhwa replied, shaking his head. "It's different this time. One day, one track. Each test will have its own venue, and it's all over when it's done." The clock was ticking, and the pressure was mounting. The main team began coordination training, and when the instructor glanced at Soo B with a cold remark about cooperation, it felt like a slap. Was that really directed at him? He knew he wasn't the type to act solo. He thrived in teamwork. After class, strategy discussions heated up. Though the test was individual, the threat of an outsider taking a core seat made everyone nervous. Si Zhaohua confidently claimed the attack role, unbothered by potential consequences. Soo B casually said special, and Feng Lan echoed it, though unsure of her chances. Soo B didn't mind his prophecy ability wasn't fit for brawls anyway. While others relied on strength, he could see tomorrow's battles unfold. Calm and distant, his presence reassured without needing pity. He knew where he belonged, with or without the team. With a confident smile, Jiang Tianming boldly declared, "I'm going for control," showing no fear of his secret being revealed. Soo B, sensing a plan behind his words, felt a surge of curiosity. On the other side, Zhou Renji's eyes flashed with caution. "I'm also control," he said, his voice guarded. His ability allowed him to wield powerful, hard control. But what truly concerned him was the need to secure his place in the team, preferably as a main member. Missing out on either spot meant facing his parents' disapproval, a fate he dreaded. His family was filled with ambitious half-siblings and cousins, all eyeing his position. The fear of failure loomed over him. He knew that if he didn't stand out now, he could lose everything. Though he often looked down on Jiang Tianming's background, Zhou Renji couldn't deny that Jiang Tianming's endurance in S-Class proved he wasn't to be underestimated. The revelation that Jiang Tianming was his rival sparked genuine wariness within him. But Zhou Renji wasn't one to back down. He scanned the group, wondering if anyone else would challenge him. Anyone else for this track? His intentions were clear, and there was no need to hide them. Everyone would see through his scheme eventually. Mo Xiaoshan, ever confident, raised his hand. "Me!" The challenge grew even greater. Zhou Renji's heart sank. Mo Xiaotian was no easy foe. Having started in Class A, Jiang Tianming, ever the sharp observer, noticed a crack in Zhou Renji's strategy. "You're signing up for control? Will your ability qualify?" he asked, catching the flaw. Zhou Renji's face shifted, realizing the oversight. The game had just become far more complicated. Mo Xiaotian was typically seen as an attacker, known for his explosive blocks during solo battle. However, when it came to control, he showed a surprising twist, manipulating the air to form a solid wall and testing its durability. While everyone acknowledged it could fit the control role, it was clear that his strength and attack made him a tough contender. Still, Mo Xiaotian opted for control not out of preference but because of his grandfather's guidance. Despite others, like Zhou Renji, suggesting he could choose attack instead, Mo Xiaotian remained steadfast, unwilling to defy his grandfather's wishes. Meanwhile, others like Wu Jin faced similar dilemmas, torn between control and support, a choice shaped by the expectations placed on them, highlighting the tension between personal desires and the roles they were expected to play. Wu Jin's decision to join the succubus track was an odd one to many, especially with his no-presence ability, which didn't seem to fit control or support roles. To those around him, it was a mystery, but for Wu Jin, it was simple. My dad told me to. With the S-Class already within his reach, there was no way he could be forced into a team spot. As the exams loomed closer, Subi prepared to face fierce competition, mainly from Li Shu, with Feng Lan hardly a threat due to his abilities limitations in the arena. Meanwhile, the tracks for the test were announced, and the stakes were high. Attack would test pure battle strength in an arena, while defense focused on withstanding attacks in the classroom. It was a simple but intense battle to prove their abilities. The Academy's assessment method was based on overall performance, with various tests to evaluate different skills. The first test was healing, where the candidates had to treat a critically injured person in the infirmary. Speed was the crucial factor, as temporary recovery sufficed for the moment, with post-match care handled by external doctors. The second test was buffing, taking place in a combat room. The candidates had to apply buffs to one of two teachers fighting, where perfect timing could surpass even the most powerful abilities. Then came the control test, which assessed team coordination and command. The role of commander, usually taken by the support or control expert, was open to all, as the Academy didn't specify. The test took place in a regular classroom, likely set up with an illusion for the team battle scenario. Finally, there was the mysterious special track, whose details weren't revealed until the exam day, with the venue being a classroom. In class, Lei Zian, the next teacher, discussed the basics of ability items, and Mo Xiaotian, curious as ever, asked about the secrecy of the special track. Lei Zian, anticipating this question, simply smiled and remarked on the special track's role in the upcoming competition. They were stumped. The roles of other tracks were clear, but the special one felt like it was just there for filler. However, that couldn't be right. Adding a track wasn't required, 5 weren't mandatory. They could always choose to add a ranged attack or an assassin track. Zhang Tianming hesitated, suggesting it might be because of the unexpected effects. Lei Zian nodded approvingly. Exactly! Their bizarre abilities confused the enemy. Mo Xiaoshan, still puzzled, asked, but why hide the test content? Zhao Xiaoyu chimed in, answering for Lei Zian. It's about testing your thinking. Solving it quickly shows that you can surprise your opponents. Lei Zian gave her a thumbs up, smiling. Exactly. Don't try prying any more information from me. I've told you everything. He wasn't holding anything back. His words suggested that the special tracks test would be absurd. The more absurd and quickly solved, the better, as it revealed the solver's unpredictability key to catching opponents off guard. Zhou Renji grinned, teasing Subi and Li Shu. You two won't fail together, right? That would be hilarious. In the intense world of competition, only 3 contestants are on the special track, and the pressure is mounting. Li Shu, with a hesitant smile, confesses his anxiety about the outcome, fearing the heartbreak of losing a spot if the others succeed. Wu Mingbai laughs, catching on to the tension, while the group understands that the real challenge lies in Zhou Renji's track, where 3 candidates vie for 2 spots. As the looming uncertainty weighs on him, Zhou Renji tries to avoid confrontation. But when Subi offers to predict his exam results, he panics and bolts to the bathroom. Everyone watches in confusion as he flees, with Subi smirking, suggesting his escape was driven by fear of failure. The atmosphere is thick with nervous energy, and no one can predict who will emerge victorious. Subi's calm demeanor had everyone guessing his next move. After Zhou Renji's mockery, it seemed too suspicious when Subi offered a prophecy, leading to the assumption that it would be a disaster. But Subei's response was chilling. He said nothing, yet conveyed everything. Lan Subing, her curiosity piqued, asked if he believed Zhou Renji would fail. Subi shrugged and, with a half smile, casually dismissed the notion, suggesting that everyone was underestimating the competition. It wasn't just the S-Class they had to worry about. The first-year rivals were fierce too. Lei Zian, who had watched enough drama to know better, nodded in agreement. Sube was the clearest-headed among them. Feng Lan, eager to know more, asked if Sube had seen something others hadn't. Before Sube could respond, Feng Lan shared his own observation: Zhou Renji's grim expression. Zhou Renji, caught off guard, seemed to deny it, but Feng Lan was insistent, pointing out that the recent prophecy fragments likely indicated looming trouble in the exams. Wu Mingbai speculated, maybe not other classes could be Mo Xiaotian or Jiang. His gaze was fixed on both, recognizing their strength, though the outcome of their three-way match remained unclear until the end. I don't know, so I'm asking Subi, Feng Lan responded, turning to him. So, what did you see? Guess, Subi replied, stretching casually. I'm heading back. Tomorrow's going to be a brainbuster. I need rest. In the same track, Li Shu, who had kept his distance since last semester's one-sided beating, stood up. I'll go with you, he said, and they left together, making their way toward the school gate. It was dinner time, and tired of cafeteria food, they planned to eat out. The academy's food was good, but after 3 years, it had lost its appeal, so students often alternated between eating at the cafeteria and exploring the nearby food street. While waiting for their meal, Li Shu joked, what if a dark horse rises tomorrow and we're fighting for the last special track spot? Subi shook his head. Li Shu thought he'd deny the possibility of a dark horse, but instead, Subi said, I'll definitely make it. If there's a dark horse, it'll be you and them fighting for the last spot. Both Subi and Zhou Renji were in similar positions, each needing to make the team, as the selection would play a crucial role in future events, possibly even multiple ones. Subi knew he couldn't afford failure. Unlike his rival, who was caught in uncertainty, Subi had absolute confidence in his abilities. The difference was night and day compared to his struggle in the previous semester's exam. Back then, he fought for every win without certainty. Now, he knew that if he didn't make the cut, either the teachers were blind or two dark horses had emerged, both situations out of his control. In either case, he'd stop fighting. Li Shu, listening to Su Bei's words, froze. There was no arguing with the reality. Su Bei was powerful. His mental energy, physical prowess, and abilities were flawless. Objectively, the only flaw in his game was his weak defense, but he always avoided danger using his abilities. For Li Shu, glory wasn't the goal. He didn't feel the pressure to be the best. He just wanted to be strong. Yet, the stakes were high. If someone from another class took their spot, it could cost someone in S class their chance. Li Shu couldn't guarantee it wouldn't be him, so he had no choice but to try. And then the exam began at 8 a.m. At 7:30, the classroom buzzed with anticipation as everyone awaited the homeroom teacher's pep talk and the details of the special tracks test. The homeroom teacher, however, had little to add, having already warned them about the stakes. He moved straight to the test details. They were to use their abilities to make as many people as possible leave the room in the shortest time. The number of people and speed were the key judging criteria. As expected, the task was a bit absurd, but Subi remained calm and clearly had a plan. His friends, Feng Lan and Li Shu, appeared just as relaxed, which only added to the envy around them. The teacher reminded them that the test wasn't just a selection for the competition, but also counted toward their grades, making it even more important. Zhao Xiaoyu, who had planned to coast through, now faced the realization that it was graded. Despite her abilities ensuring a good future, she, like many others, felt the weight of competition. After giving his final warning, the teacher sent them off to their test venues with a hopeful message. Subi, Li Shu, and Feng Lan walked together, with Subi, his curiosity piqued, asking, "Got your methods figured out?" In a world where illusions reign supreme, one student's plan stood out. "I'm using illusions to trick them out," he confidently declared. His classmates, however, were equally as sly. "Same," said another. "I'm using my ability to get them out." Yet another nodded in agreement. As the trio made their way through the crowded halls of the school, where support and special abilities were often underestimated, their fame was undeniable. As members of the elite S class, their faces were already well known. Whispers followed them everywhere. Some were even talking about fan clubs. Seriously? Fan clubs in an academy like this? It was like something straight out of a shoujo manga. But this was reality, and their presence commanded attention as they entered the classroom, the room falling silent in awe and intrigue. Would their abilities live up to the hype? Only time would tell. Li Shu stood, quietly observing the scene unfolding around him. There was a strange tension in the air. The track, the one they had been chosen for, seemed almost like an afterthought to the others. It was as though the results were already decided. "Why are we even here?" someone muttered. "It's over," another added. The teacher at the front recognized Li Shu with a nod, knowing him from the past, and greeted him warmly. "Come register," he said. Li Shu smiled faintly and greeted the teacher, exchanging a few polite words as he signed in. Afterward, he leaned against the wall with his companions, waiting in silence. A former classmate approached, eager to catch up. "Hey, how was your break?" he asked casually. Li Shu's demeanor was soft, almost distant, making the exchange seem friendly, though his response was non-committal. It was fine, pretty eventful. His friends exchanged glances, understanding the hidden meaning behind his words. The break had been filled with personal drama, power struggles, and more. The conversation quickly shifted as the classmate revealed his own struggle with the upcoming test. "Got a plan for the test?" "The time limit's too tight, and I'm stuck trying to figure out how to use my ability effectively. Any chance I could just force them out?" The probing question hung in the air, echoing Li Shu's earlier thoughts. It was a quiet reminder of the tension that simmered just below the surface. Li Shu gave a sly smile, mimicking Su Bi. "I'm just using my ability to pass." The guy froze, recalling Li Shu's powerful illusion abilities, and fell silent. It was perfect for the task at hand. After all, last semester, Li Shu had trapped classmates in illusions, and after a semester of growth, who knew how much stronger he had become? Students filtered in, and Su Bi, feeling bored, counted over 50. With more than 200 first years across 5 tracks, this track was undoubtedly popular. At 8:25, the proctor checked the attendance list, confirmed everyone's presence, and clapped his hands. "Let's go over the rules. I'll pick 5 students to stay in the classroom. Once I start the exam, you'll have 10 minutes to use any method to make them leave. But remember, follow the teacher's criteria, or you'll lose major points or fail. The 5 students can defend themselves, but they can't attack. If they do, they fail instantly." He glanced at the list and smirked. "Let's start with the S-class candidates. First up may be a bit unfair, but as S-class, I'm sure you can handle it." Early testing meant less thinking time and no prior examples, making it tougher for the S-class candidates who were expected to deal with challenges like this. Su Bi, the proctor announced, and Su Bi, the unluckiest of the 3, didn't hesitate, stepping forward. The teacher used an app to select the 5 students who would remain in the room, sending the rest to watch from the windows. A warning echoed, "If you get sent out, you lose points." As the countdown began, tension filled the air, and the 5 students quickly retreated to the corners of the room, preparing themselves with their abilities. They feared Su Bi might strike first, but little did they know, Su Bi had a different approach in mind. Despite being more than capable of overpowering them physically, Su Bi wasn't here to fight. The real test wasn't about brute force, it was about unpredictability. As the timer started, the students braced for a direct confrontation, but it was the unexpected that hit first. Suddenly, a yellow-haired boy clutched his stomach, groaning in distress. "Damn, is this your trick?" he exclaimed before rushing out, unable to contain himself. His exit, driven by an involuntary reaction, wasn't part of the plan, but it was a subtle move in the game. Su Bi's quiet confidence remained unshaken as he watched the chaos unfold, keeping his focus on the real objective, outsmarting the competition without a single punch. Amidst the exam chaos, a girl's phone rang. It was her parents. She immediately picked up, knowing they wouldn't call unless it was important. It was urgent. Her mother had been in a car accident. She had to go to the hospital right away. Panicking, she rushed out but stopped in hesitation. "Can I come back?" she asked sheepishly. The teacher, unwavering, told her no. "Once you leave, you're eliminated." But curious, the teacher asked, "Aren't you going to see your mother?" The girl looked defeated and explained, "My mom was riding a shared bike to the hospital, had a minor accident, and scraped someone. My dad called because he thought I hadn't started the exam. He wanted me to pick up the results later." What a bizarre mix of bad luck and misunderstanding. As the tension in the room escalated, another student ran out, claiming, "There's a cockroach!" But that only triggered a chain reaction. Another girl screamed and bolted out. Finally, the last student sprinted toward the exit, frantically shouting, "My phone fell!" Chaos reigned, and the exam turned into a spectacle. In a world where the lines between reality and narrative blur, Subei's astonishing abilities continue to leave those around him in awe. In just 10 seconds, he eliminates 5 candidates, each timed perfectly, leaving the classroom stunned into silence. Everyone knows Subei's potential, but this was something else entirely. It wasn't luck, it was pure skill. From his rise in the rankings from F class to S class, Subei has proven time and again that he's destined for greatness. But as he finishes his round and prepares to leave, he's reminded that the testing isn't over yet. The S-class students remain, observing the traditional order of testing. With some bitter words thrown his way from a classmate, Subei continues undeterred, knowing that his place is secured. This moment is only a preview of the challenges and revelations that lie ahead. In an intense moment, one character enthusiastically discusses how they would handle clearing the classroom, suggesting drastic measures that would take time. The group then dives into a challenge where 5 randomly selected candidates must face off, and Li Shu steps up next. Just before he speaks, a warning is issued, cautioning the others about his illusion-based power. Some, unfamiliar with his abilities, cover their ears and eyes in a futile attempt to block his power. Li Shu, unfazed, smirks and reveals that his illusions aren't limited to just sight or sound. Though it seems like nothing happens, those around him start acting strangely, dodging invisible threats and swatting at the air. One by one, they panic as they unknowingly approach the door, drawn in by the illusion. Once outside, the illusion breaks, and the first person stands frozen, realizing they've been tricked and have left the room. Confused, a classmate asks, "What just happened?" as the others slowly recover. Li Shu's skill was no joke. What appeared to be a simple illusion was anything but. The boy had just learned the hard way. With his eyes shut tight and his ears blocked, he thought he was safe until something slimy touched his skin. Instinct kicked in, and before he knew it, a cold, writhing tentacle bound him, threatening to choke the life out of him. Panicking, he opened his eyes and tried to escape, but no matter how much he dodged, the trap seemed to follow him, pulling him back into a web of illusions. It wasn't just sight and sound that were altered, it was touch, too, which made it almost impossible to resist. The test lasted only 2 minutes, but it felt like an eternity. Others who thought they could outlast Li Shu were also outmatched. Even knowing it was a lie didn't help. As the teacher announced the time, one girl, shocked and confused, couldn't believe it. She was sure she had held out much longer, but when she checked the clock, she realized the illusion had distorted even time itself. A quiet smile played on Li Shu's lips as he left the room, his mind already moving on to the next challenge. Li Shu's skill amazed Mo Xiaoxian. "Wow, you've trapped 5 people in illusions at once?" Mo exclaimed. With a pleased grin, Li Shu responded, "I've made it to the second stage, just like the teacher said. This wasn't about Manhwa, but the illusion master from the previous semester's campaign reenactment." Mo's curiosity piqued. "What's the second stage?" he asked. Li Shu recited the master's explanation. "First stage, the enemy doesn't realize it's an illusion. Second, they know but can't escape. Third, they could escape but choose not to. The others grasp the meaning, creating an illusion where the enemy doesn't even know is impressive. Making them aware but still trapped was a higher skill, and having them willingly stay was the mark of a top-tier illusionist." Then, the teacher turned to Feng Lan, the last of the S-class candidates. Feng Lan made eye contact with Subei, entered, and without hesitation said, "This classroom's about to catch fire." Everyone froze, the tension palpable as the unexpected twist took hold. The teacher hesitated, torn between wanting to speak and fearing the consequences of asking too many questions. He remained outside, silent, as the 5 exam helpers exchanged uneasy glances, uncertain whether Feng Lan's words were true. A rebellious boy with green hair scoffed, dismissing the claim that a fire was imminent, calling it a lie even with the supposed prophecy. Subei recognized him from a previous exam, and a girl retorted, pointing out that Feng Lan, as the head of a prophetic family, wouldn't lie about such matters. Feng Lan simply nodded, sealing his words. Panic spread quickly, not only among the students but also the teacher. How could the classroom catch fire? The teacher began to consider an evacuation, his mind racing with the possibility of an attack. But he hesitated. This was Feng Lan's exam, and that changed everything. In a tense moment, the dilemma faced by the group seems impossible to solve. The teacher is cautious, but Feng Lan's unwavering calm only adds to the unease of the others. Initially, the others had their doubts, but once Feng Lan confirmed the situation, they couldn't ignore the gravity in the teacher's expression. With a deep focus, Feng Lan judged their reasoning with his sharp golden eyes. It wasn't long before one girl made the first move, deciding to leave. She was no longer willing to gamble her life for points, recognizing that something serious was at play. Her departure sparked a chain reaction, with 3 others following her lead. Only the green-haired kid remained, convinced that if he stayed, Feng Lan would eventually return to clear up the lie, but Feng Lan had no intentions of doing so. As time passed, panic set in as the minutes slipped away, and the green-haired kid, unable to bear the pressure, finally fled. With his escape, the teacher hit pause, ending the test with only 7 minutes and 34 seconds gone by. In a moment of confusion, the teacher anxiously asked about the fire, and just as the question hung in the air, Subi's voice echoed from behind. "It's already burning." As the teacher turned around, a smoldering paper ball lay quietly on the floor. Subi stood, processing the situation, then turned to look at Subi, asking, "You threw it?" Subi nodded, unfazed, and nonchalantly replied, "Did it catch fire?" The room fell into stunned silence. The prophecy had come true. The classroom was on fire, but not quite in the way anyone expected. One of the girls, completely caught off guard, asked, "Does this count?" with a tone full of disbelief. Meanwhile, a boy with green hair, devastated, cried out, "3 more minutes! I was only 3 minutes away from keeping those points." Mu Tiran turned to Sube, confused. "Why'd you help Feng Lan throw the paper? Where did the fire come from?" Sube shrugged. "Feng Lan hinted I should throw it," she said. Chi Huang lit it. While everyone was watching the scene unfold, Sube was crumpling up paper, and Chi Huang quietly lit it, exchanging a glance with her. It was a look that said everything. "Are you crazy?" But Chi Huang complied silently. "But I didn't hear you talk," said Li Shu, still puzzled after witnessing the scene. Feng Lan nodded, answering, "We locked eyes." Chi Huang, still incredulous, turned to Subi and asked, "That one look and you understood?" Subi explained calmly, "I understood after he said the classroom would catch fire. He glanced at me then, not for nothing. He was signaling something." Feng Lan, like the Feng family, preferred unspoken understanding. While others wondered about the fire, Subi immediately grasped Feng Lan's intent. Jiang Tianming asked, "Anyone could have thrown the fire. Why didn't you, Feng Lan? What if Subi missed your hint?" Feng Lan replied, "I can't start the fire. Our family rule forbids self-fulfilling prophecies. The others understood such prophecies would cause chaos, making everyone a prophet." Feng Lan's silent glance to Subi wasn't self-fulfilling, just their uncanny synchronization. Zhao Xiaoyu questioned, "What if Subi didn't get it?" Feng Lan confidently shook his head. He'd get it. Sube, grinning, concluded, "We're done." Their shared understanding, rooted in an uncanny trust, marked their bond, no words needed. In the test, Jiang Tianming and his team, focused only on their goal, chose to leave together. The first Class A candidate, despite his intimidating ability, failed to make an impact. His power, Werewolf Kill, forced participants into a dangerous game where deaths could be real, but with strict conditions. Though seemingly strong, it required a very specific setup, 4 allies, to trap 2 enemies, making it impractical. Despite its force kill potential, it was no match for a group of skilled ability users, and the candidate failed. As the next candidate's name flashed, Subi's presence caused a stir. His casual reaction left the others in suspense. The candidate, realizing his bad luck, nervously questioned the teacher about the possibility of Su be using his ability to oust him. The tension was palpable, but what would happen next remained uncertain. The teacher gave a helpless look, clearly frustrated. If you don't attack him, he can't attack you. That includes the other method. Helpers can't oust candidates. The candidate whined, "But he's S-class. How can I get him out? That's just unfair." The teacher's patience thinned. Unfair? You didn't think the early tests for S-class were unfair when they didn't affect you. He hardened his gaze. "If you're going to face stronger enemies in the 3-school competition, will you cry unfair then? If you're unhappy, skip it." "It's just a regular monthly exam." The candidate knew he couldn't back out. The test was too important. "Fine, I'll take it," he muttered. With a flick of his hand, the teacher called in 5 helpers. Except for Su B, the rest were only B class, barely a challenge. The special track had 2 extremes, S or A class. and then the D or F class, with very few in between. One Class A candidate revealed his ability, perfectly tailored for the test, controlling soft materials like cloth. He grinned, threatening, "You wouldn't want your clothes flying away in public, would you?" The tension was thick in the room as he slipped off a helper's jacket, leaving them exposed and vulnerable. The helper, sensing the danger, agreed to back off. Others, having seen this, learned to avoid his touch, using their abilities to shield themselves. Subi, perched on the windowsill, observed the unfolding scene, convinced the candidate wouldn't go for him first. Targeting others seemed like the smarter choice, but Subi knew better than to underestimate the situation. As the chase escalated, two figures were heading his way, confirming his suspicion. With a swift leap, he crossed the room and perched high on a cabinet. If they kept coming for him, their intentions would be crystal clear. Meanwhile, Jiang Tianming and his group observed from outside, their amusement evident. Wu Mingbai joked about Subi's tendency to sit when he could, but Jiang Tianming, ever the keen observer, quickly realized what was happening. The candidate had set its sights on Subi. This bold move shocked everyone, including Lan Subing, who tried to shrink back among her classmates, feeling vulnerable without her scarf. March's warmth made it feel even more unsettling. Zhao Xiaoyu stood in front, protecting the candidate, understanding the situation. His skills are suited for this challenge. If Subi gets distracted and touched, he'd be forced to surrender. It made sense no one could remain unfazed in that situation. While instant kills were a possibility, Subi probably didn't have that advantage. Many ambitious participants would take that risk for points. But Subi is aware. If he doesn't change his approach, he's in trouble. Wu Mingbai remarked with a grin, almost enjoying the unfolding situation. Ai Baozhu smiled knowingly. I'm not so sure. Even if they get close, as long as he doesn't attack, the rules will stop Subi from taking action. Zhou Renji raised an eyebrow, shaking his head. Does he think the rules will tie Subi down that easily? If rules were enough to restrain him, Subi wouldn't be the person they all knew. The candidate didn't understand Subi's ability to adapt, or, as Ai Baozhu suggested, mistakenly thought the rules would protect him. As the two closed in, Subi's calm demeanor faltered. Did they really think he was so easy to trick? He stood firm, waiting, while the two advanced with all their might, pretending it was just a skirmish, not a trap. As they neared, the candidate's heart raced, ready to strike. With a subtle touch, he could have controlled the situation. Holding the clothes in his hands, he was sure Subi would yield. But if he didn't, humiliating him publicly would make the candidate a name to remember. Ousting an S-class student or forcing them to lose face could bring fame. But as he reached out, Subi shifted, his hand brushing against the candidate's, and that changed everything. A touch on the hand was useless. Unlike the clothes, and the candidate's plan crumbled in an instant. Dread crept in. Subi's smile grew. That counts as attacking me, doesn't it? He said with a grin. Before the candidate could react, a gear sliced his neck. It wasn't fatal, but the fear was paralyzing. His body frozen in terror, barely holding on. Another gear pressed against his throat, and Subi's cold voice echoed, "Stay like this until the exam ends." The candidate, struggling to recover, dared to speak. "You! This is against the rules, isn't it? How can you do this? Teacher, why aren't you stopping him?" But the teacher outside remained motionless, as though deaf to the plea. Subi raised an eyebrow. "Where's the rule violation?" The candidate had no answer. Subi hadn't broken any rules. He only acted after being touched, not initiating anything. The candidate, realizing he couldn't overpower his opponent, switched tactics and pleaded for mercy. "I didn't mean to target you. I just wanted to earn points. Please, let me finish the exam." But Subi, ever unshaken, simply leaned against the wall, eyes closed, as if nothing could affect him. His silence spoke volumes. People faced the consequences of their choices. The candidate soon realized he had no chance, and his pleas turned to bitter accusations, only to fall into a resigned silence. As the time ran out, Subi shook his head. If the candidate had acted differently, risking others to finish his task, he might have been let off the hook, but he didn't. In a world where the teacher's oversight ensured everyone's safety, the candidate gambled and lost, mistaking Subi's stillness for helplessness. He was half-hearted in his bravery, and that sealed his fate. As they left, the candidate glared at Subi, ready to lash out, but before he could speak, someone asked, Why didn't you run? Su Bi, still silent, simply closed his eyes again. The candidate, thinking the comment was a mockery, retorted angrily. He's so strong, if I moved, he'd know. How could I run? Jiang Tianming, calm as ever, shook his head. But if he knew, what would it matter? Even if he attacked, your life would still be safe with the teacher present. Running would have given you a chance, but you chose to stay still. Si Zhaohua, his gaze lowering, added softly, you gave up the exam yourself.